Well, there is some breaking entertainment news this morning. It's been revealed Kylie Minogue had a second cancer diagnosis in 2021. In the star's new Netflix documentary, Minogue says she got through it again.
For decades, Kylie Minogue has dazzled the world with glamour, hit songs, and an energy that made her seem almost unstoppable. But behind the fame, success, and sparkling public image lies a deeply emotional story marked by heartbreak, painful setbacks, and personal struggles few truly understand. Now, at 57, many fans are looking back at the hidden tragedies that shaped her life and left lasting scars behind the spotlight. So what really happened to Kylie Minogue? And why are so many people calling her story absolutely heartbreaking today? A life rewritten twice by cancer. In the documentary narrative, Kylie Minogue, at 57, is no longer only looking back at a life shaped by fame and music. She is also looking back at something far more personal: survival, resilience, and the hidden cost of living with illness while the world continues to watch from a distance. According to her account, in 2021, she faced a second cancer diagnosis, but chose not to share it publicly at the time, carrying the experience entirely on her own. There were no announcements, no headlines, and no wave of public sympathy. Only silence surrounding a struggle happening behind closed doors. She described that period as emotionally exhausting, saying the pressure of public life felt heavy while she was trying to protect her health and her peace of mind. Even as her career and the world around her kept moving forward, she was quietly dealing with something deeply personal that few people knew about. Years later, she made the decision to speak about it publicly, not to invite pity, but to share truth and awareness. She explained that cancer is not something that simply ends after treatment, but something that continues to stay with a person in different ways. In her words, it never fully leaves her life, and that truth became an important message she wanted the world to understand. This revelation adds a new layer to her public image, reminding audiences that behind the spotlight, there is a human being who has faced fear, uncertainty, and recovery in silence. It is a reminder that fame does not protect anyone from life's hardest battles, and that even the brightest stars can face their darkest nights away from public view. Her story, as shared in the documentary, is not about despair alone, but about courage, privacy, and the strength it takes to keep going when life becomes overwhelming. And now, as she reflects at 57, she does so with honesty and openness, hoping her experience can help others feel less alone in their own struggles. Her journey continues to resonate deeply with fans across the world, not because it is perfect, but because it is real, human, and marked by moments of both strength and vulnerability. It stands as a powerful reminder that behind every global icon is a private story of endurance. And sometimes the most difficult battles are the ones fought away from the cameras, in silence, where only courage keeps a person moving forward each day, shaping who she has become today. Her voice now carries both pain and peace, reflecting a life that has been tested. At 57, Kylie Minogue revealed she privately battled cancer again in 2021, but chose not to share it with the world. Was this her first experience with the illness? If not, could her earlier battle have shaped how she faced it this time, leading her to remain silent? Let's uncover the devastating details. Life-changing cancer battle. Kylie Minogue's first cancer diagnosis in 2005 arrived at the very height of her success and changed everything in an instant. At 36 years old, she was living what looked like a dream life, performing to huge crowds, traveling the world, and standing as one of pop music's brightest stars. But suddenly, that life came to a stop. She was forced to cancel her tour and step away from the stage to begin chemotherapy treatment, focusing only on survival and healing. The change was shocking and very public. One moment, she was under bright stage lights, singing and dancing in front of thousands of fans, and the next, she was out of sight, away from the music, and fighting a serious illness. The news spread quickly, and the world watched with worry and sadness as a global star disappeared from the spotlight she once owned so naturally. During that time, everything slowed down for her. The busy world of performances, interviews, and constant movement was replaced with hospital visits, treatment schedules, and long days of recovery. It was a painful and uncertain period, filled with fear, hope, and moments of deep weakness. Yet even in that silence, she held on to the belief that she would make it through. When she finally returned to public life, she was not the same person who had left. She came back with strength, but also with a new understanding of how quickly life can change. Fame and success no longer felt untouchable. Instead, she carried a quiet awareness that health and life itself could shift in a moment without warning. Even after she recovered, the experience never fully left her. It stayed with her in the way she thought, the way she worked, and the way she valued each day. It shaped her into someone more thoughtful, more grounded, and more aware of life's fragile nature. Her return was not just a comeback in music, but also a return of a woman who had faced fear, survived it, and learned to live with a deeper sense of gratitude for every moment given to her. That chapter of her life also changed how she sees the world around her. She began to appreciate simple moments that once felt ordinary, like quiet mornings, time with loved ones, and the ability to create music again. Each day became something she no longer took for granted. The experience also made her more open about health struggles, knowing that many people go through similar battles in silence. Not just about surviving cancer, but learning how to live again with patience, courage, and a deeper respect for life itself. Kylie's first cancer diagnosis came at age 36, at the peak of her career, forcing her to begin chemotherapy immediately. But what other painful struggles did she face during that difficult period? And how hard was it for her to keep moving forward despite everything she was carrying? Now, let's explore the emotional song born from a dream of motherhood. The heartbreaking IVF struggle. After surviving her first battle with cancer, Kylie Minogue entered another deeply emotional chapter of her life, one that was far more private, but just as painful. She wanted to become a mother, a dream she carried quietly in her heart, even while rebuilding her health and career. To give herself that chance, she went through IVF treatments, holding on tightly to hope that life might still offer her the experience of motherhood. But behind that hope was a difficult and painful truth. At one point, Kylie made the brave decision to delay starting chemotherapy so she could try IVF first. It was a heartbreaking choice, made in a moment where she refused to let go of the possibility of having a child without trying everything she could. She later described it as a fragile but powerful thread of hope that kept her going during an uncertain time. Despite several attempts, the treatment did not lead to the result she had dreamed of. The outcome brought deep sadness, and she had to slowly come to terms with a future that would not include biological motherhood. Her sister, Kylie Minogue, later shared how emotional that period was, noting that nurturing and motherhood were qualities that came so naturally to Kylie, making the loss even more heartbreaking. Out of that quiet grief came one of her most emotional artistic expressions. her song Flower. Many fans believe it reflects the feelings she could not easily put into words, a message of love, loss, and acceptance directed toward the child she never had. The song became a lasting symbol of healing, carrying both sadness and peace at the same time. This experience also changed the way Kylie saw life, love, and time. She began to speak more openly about how painful it can be when dreams do not go as planned, especially dreams that touch the heart so deeply. Even though she moved forward in her career and continued to inspire millions with her music, the quiet memory of that journey stayed with her. It shaped her into someone more gentle with herself and others, someone who understood that not all hopes are meant to end the way we imagine. Over time, she found strength in acceptance rather than resistance, learning to carry both gratitude and sadness together. Her story continues to touch many people who have faced similar struggles, reminding them that even in loss, there can still be beauty, meaning, and love that never truly disappear. In her quiet honesty, Kylie continues to inspire people, showing that healing is not always about forgetting pain, but learning how to live with it gently. Beyond delaying chemotherapy for IVF treatment, which did not lead to the motherhood she had hoped for, what other heartbreak did Kylie face in her journey? Did she lose someone deeply important to her? If so, how profoundly did that loss affect her? Let's unravel the painful details. The first grief that never left. Before illness and the journey into motherhood struggles, Kylie Minogue's emotional world had already been deeply shaped by a relationship that would stay with her for the rest of her life. She often reflects on her time with Michael Hutchence, describing him as her first true love, but also as the person who introduced her to her first deep heartbreak. What began as a bright and exciting connection in her younger years slowly became a memory that carried both warmth and pain. She has shared that being with him made her feel truly seen for the first time. It was a relationship that opened her heart in new ways, helping her understand emotions she had never fully experienced before. In his presence, she felt a sense of discovery, as if she was stepping into a new world of love, intensity, and emotional honesty. But that same intensity would later make the loss even harder to bear. When Michael Hutchence died in 1997, everything changed for her. The news did not just mark the end of a relationship, it marked her first real encounter with grief in its deepest form. The love story that once brought joy and growth suddenly became something tied to sadness and unanswered questions. It left a lasting mark on her heart, one that she has never fully escaped. Even though their time together was short, its emotional impact stayed with her for decades. Kylie has spoken, sometimes through emotion and silence, about how difficult it is to think back on him. In the documentary, her memories are not shown as just celebrity romance or public curiosity, but as a deeply human experience that shaped her understanding of love, identity, and loss. She has admitted that even years later, recalling him can still bring strong emotion. It is not just about remembering a person, but about remembering a version of herself that existed during that time, a younger woman discovering both love and heartbreak at the same time. That emotional chapter became part of her foundation, influencing how she later approached relationships and life. In many ways, this early experience prepared her for the emotional challenges that would come later in her life. It taught her that love can be beautiful, but also fragile, and that loss can stay with a person quietly for many years. Even she carries these memories gently, not as a burden, but as part of who she has become, shaping her compassion, her music, and the quiet way she understands both love and loss in a deeper, more human sense. Kylie lost the first love of her life, leaving her completely heartbroken. But did something from her past later return? Was it something worth celebrating? Or did its return bring even more pain? What was it, and how did she handle it? Let's find out. A second cancer kept in silence. The most heartbreaking part of Kylie Minogue's journey may not be the illnesses themselves, but the fact that one of them was carried in complete silence, away from public view. In 2021, 16 years after she first overcame cancer, she received another diagnosis that once again shifted her world. But this time, she made a very different choice. Instead of announcing it or allowing the world to watch, she decided to go through it privately, without headlines, statements, or explanations. Life on the outside continued as normal, while on the inside, she was facing one of her most difficult personal battles alone. She later shared that the reason for this silence was not secrecy for its own sake, but emotional survival. At that time, she described herself as feeling like a shell of a person, too drained and fragile to handle the weight of public attention while trying to heal. The idea of explaining it to the world felt impossible, as she was already struggling just to get through each day. So she chose privacy as a form of protection, permitting herself to be human away from expectation. Even as she quietly moved through treatment and recovery, the world around her did not stop. Her career continued to grow, and later moments, like the global success of songs such as Padam Padam, showed her return to strength and visibility. Yet behind that success was a deeper truth she carried privately. Cancer, in her words, was never just a temporary chapter or a simple blip in her life. It remained something that stayed with her, shaping how she saw her body, her time, and her future. Now, as she speaks more openly, her decision is not about reopening old wounds, but about truth and awareness. She wants people to understand that illness does not always end when treatment does, and that healing is often long, quiet, and unseen. Her story becomes less about fame and more about survival beyond visibility, showing that strength is not only found in being seen, but sometimes in what is carried privately and endured with courage. Her decision to finally speak about this chapter is not an attempt to relive pain, but to offer honesty to others facing similar hidden battles. She understands that many people go through illness quietly without recognition or support, and she hopes her voice can make those experiences feel less isolating. She transforms personal struggle into awareness, compassion, and strength, showing that survival can also bring meaning to others. In this way, she proves that healing continues quietly, long after the treatment ends. Kylie's second battle with cancer came years after she had overcome the first one. But what lessons can people take from the way she faced her struggles? Is her story only about resilience, or does it offer something even deeper? Now, let's explore a life defined by survival, the quiet strength behind a global icon. Now, at 57, Kylie Minogue's story is no longer defined only by fame, music, and bright lights. It is defined by everything she lived through behind them. Behind the stage lights and global success lies a life marked by moments the public rarely saw in full. There were two cancer battles, one spoken about openly and another carried in silence, each changing her in different ways. She also lived through a painful motherhood journey filled with hope, waiting, delay, and deep heartbreak when things did not go as planned. And before all of that, there was a first love that brought joy, but later became her first real experience of grief. After loss. Over the years, even her music began to carry pieces of these experiences, shaped by pain, reflection, and quiet strength. Songs became more than entertainment. They became small windows into emotions she often did not speak about directly. Yet, despite everything she went through, her story was never one of collapse or defeat. Instead, it became a quiet story of endurance, where survival meant continuing even when life felt heavy and uncertain. And what makes her journey feel so heartbreaking is not only what happened to her, but how much of it she carried alone. She continued performing, smiling, and creating music while dealing with one and private battles the world knew nothing about. Even as millions danced to her songs, she was often fighting silent struggles away from the spotlight. That contrast between public joy and private pain is what makes her story feel so deeply human. It is a reminder that fame does not protect anyone from suffering, nor does success erase personal struggle. Now at 57, she looks back not only as a performer, but as someone who has learned to survive repeated storms. Her reflection today is shaped by gratitude, resilience, and an honest understanding of how fragile life can be. She speaks now not to relive pain, but to give meaning to it and help others feel less alone. In doing so, she turns personal struggle into a shared message of hope and quiet strength for many people. And perhaps the most powerful part of her story is not the fame, but the silence she had to carry. A silence filled with recovery, uncertainty, loss, and private strength that the world is only beginning to understand. Still, she moves forward, not defined by tragedy alone, but by the courage to keep going despite it all. Her life stands today as a reminder that even those who shine brightest often carry the heaviest unseen stories. And through it all, Kylie Minogue remains a symbol of resilience, shaped not only by success but by survival. A journey that continues to inspire millions, reminding the world that healing is never simple, and strength often grows quietly through pain and time, and through every step forward, she keeps choosing life, love, and hope again. So, what do you think about Kylie Minogue's tragedy? Did keeping her struggles private help her cope with them better? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.